Hey folks, welcome to Evidence Violates Community Guidelines. Here in December 2022, we're going to explore an article from the Grayzone, which advertises itself as an investigation into the so-called dancing Israelis on 9/11 to see if it provides more clarity or cover-up for that fateful day. The five dancing Israelis intrigue lives on 20 years after the September 11 attacks, but the reality behind the incident may have been more mundane. A bizarre incident in which a group of Israelis were arrested on September 11, 2001 has led to theories about the men's role in the attack on New York City's World Trade Center that day. After 20 years of conjecture and speculation, an investigation by the Grayzone indicates that the infamous incident was the product of much more mundane circumstances than previously understood. In an interview with this reporter, one of the five Israelis arrested after the Twin Towers attack admitted to wrongdoing for the first time. However, he did not confess to being a terrorist or spy, as alleged by many skeptics of the official version of events on 9/11. An interview with one of the Israelis who also failed a polygraph test. Does article author really think this Israeli, or anyone in a similar situation, would confess to being a terrorist or spy if he had been one? Unverified accounts in international media claiming the Israelis had been seen dancing while the towers burned deepen the sense that they were more than mere observers. 2 months later, however, the incarcerated Israelis were released without charges and returned to Israel. The FBI concluded that the men were not in any way involved in the 9/11 attacks. However, it did not publicize its report. It was only thanks to a FOIA request that the FBI's findings ever came to light. The highly unusual incident continues to fuel speculation about Jewish or Israeli involvement in the WTC attacks. It's a lot more than just these few Israelis that fuel speculation about Jewish involvement in 9/11, such as this, and this, these, this and this, and these works also. Hundreds of Israelis. But it doesn't matter how many FBI management freed, given Philo-Semites and Zio-Semites in high American-ish places have been protecting Israeli criminality since at least 1967, when Israel intentionally attacked the USS Liberty. So why didn't the FBI willingly publicize that report if the Israelis were innocent? Why did it release redacted documents and censored pictures? One of which is dated September 10, features an Israeli holding a lit lighter, none of which the Grayzone found interesting enough to address in its investigation, even though they have access to, just like everyone now has access to, the released FBI report and pictures about the so-called dancing Israelis. At no point did Maria or any witness allege that the Israeli men were dancing in any way. Is this inane point for real? Oh sure, they were witnessed smiling, celebrating, hugging each other, high-fiving, snapping photos, filming video, and flicking lighters while Americans burned alive across the way in the Twin Towers, but they certainly weren't dancing. According to the FBI, the radar records verified that the Israelis were at the parking lot observation point between 8:50 a.m. and 9:03 a.m., after the first tower was struck at 8:46 a.m., and that this corroborated the Israelis' claims that they departed urban moving systems for the parking lot observation point after hearing of the initial explosion. What radar records? The Grayzone doesn't explain, nor does it bother to address the issue that eyewitness testimony to the FBI places Israelis on the 9/11 scene as early as 8 a.m. that day. Nor does it address that eyewitness testimony also places a dancer there as early as September 10, which naturally thickens the plot for any photo with that date. Months after the Israelis departed, however, the Forward cited a former government official's claim that the FBI believed at least one of the Israelis to be a Mossad operative. The assessment was that urban moving systems was a front for the Mossad and operatives employed by it, said the source, who claimed to have received regular briefings regarding the affair from 2 different law enforcement officials. The conclusion of the FBI was that they were spying on local Arabs, but that they could leave because they did not know anything about 9/11. According to the source, the FBI was very irritated because it was a case of so-called unilateral espionage, meaning they didn't know about it. However, one of the Israelis arrested on 9/11 told the Grayzone that Paul Kurzberg had only ever served as a simple security guard for the Jewish agency. Another one of the multiple Israelis who failed polygraphs right after 9/11, the reality of substantial Israeli involvement in espionage and other 9/11 funny business, as we addressed earlier, doesn't hinge upon these dancing distractions. There's a suppressed Fox series linked below, which further underscores that point, whose suppression has also caused people to speculate about Jewish involvement in 9/11. The article's remainder discusses urban moving systems as a business with scammy practices, but not as any Mossad operation. It wraps up with this. Though we may never get the full story from these suitors, the truth is that Israelis like them are just like everyone else. Some are good, some are bad, and all are perfectly capable of criminal behavior. In the case of those arrested on 9/11, there's scant evidence they danced, and plenty indicating that they scammed. Thank heavens we got a heads up about there being good and bad people in every group. To the bad Jews in the Jewish group, I would include Jews such as Philip Zelikow, who directed the laughable 9/11 Commission, Kenneth Feinberg, who oversaw the 9/11 Victim Compensation Fund, which helped prevent discovery in court. And to that, I would add 2 more Jews, David Sheen, who authored this article for the Grayzone, Max Blumenthal, editor-in-chief at the Grayzone, who signed off on this investigation. Next time you hear someone proudly proclaiming Sheen's or Blumenthal's anti-Zionist bona fides, politely suggest that neither's nearly anti-Zionist enough and share my video. Cheers. Peace.